Your ultimate pit stop, Piston Pundit, is here to break down the seismic shockwaves hitting the global oil industry. OPEC just pulled off a strategic power play that could upend America's energy future. With production cuts, geopolitical alliances, and refined tactics, the oil cartel has thrown down the gauntlet. But what does this mean for fuel prices, U.S. energy independence, and global markets? Buckle up as we analyze 7 key power moves that could reshape the entire industry. Power move number 7, OPEC's calculated supply squeeze. In a decisive maneuver, OPEC Plus extended its production cuts through early 2025, delaying any increases until at least April. This wasn't just a routine adjustment. It was a direct response to weaker than expected demand and growing supplies from non-OPEC nations like Brazil and Argentina. By keeping a tight lid on production, OPEC is working to stabilize prices and maintain its grip on the global oil market. This means that despite U.S. crude production climbing to an estimated 13.59 million barrels per day in 2025, America still won't be immune to OPEC's influence. The global oil economy functions like a finely tuned engine. When one major player tweaks output, ripple effects can be felt across markets worldwide. OPEC's strategy is clear: control supply, control price. And as long as they hold the reins, no amount of domestic drilling will fully insulate the U.S. from market volatility. Power move number 6. The Saudi-Iran power shift strengthens OPEC's unit. Historically, Saudi Arabia and Iran have been locked in a geopolitical rivalry, often resulting in internal OPEC tensions. But things took a dramatic turn in March 2023, when both nations signed a landmark renormalization agreement in Beijing. This wasn't just about diplomacy, it was about reshaping the power structure within OPEC itself. With a stronger alliance, Saudi Arabia and Iran are no longer clashing over oil policies. Instead, they're working together to solidify OPEC's position as the dominant force in global energy. For the U.S., this shift presents a challenge. A more unified OPEC means stronger production coordination, making it even harder for the U.S. to counteract OPEC-driven market fluctuations. The days of relying on internal OPEC disputes to weaken the cartel's grip may be over. The U.S. must now navigate a more cohesive OPEC, forcing a reassessment of Middle East diplomacy and energy strategies. Power move number 5, fuel prices on the rise. What this means for consumers. OPEC's production cuts don't just affect oil companies, they hit consumers where it hurts, at the gas pump. By limiting supply, OPEC keeps global oil prices elevated. As of early 2025, Brent crude is projected to hover around $74 per barrel, with a potential dip to $66 in 2026 as more production comes online. For American consumers, this means increased fuel prices, higher transportation costs, and inflationary pressure on goods and services. Businesses that rely on oil, whether it's manufacturing, logistics, or aviation, will feel the squeeze, and those costs will inevitably trickle down to everyday expenses. Despite U.S. efforts to boost domestic production, OPEC's ability to manipulate the market remains a key force shaping global prices. This reinforces the urgent need for the U.S. to develop alternative energy sources and long-term strategies to reduce its vulnerability to external pricing pressures. Before we delve deeper, do us a favor and smash that like and subscribe button. This helps us reach more auto enthusiasts just like you. Now let's shift gears and steer towards our next point. Power move number 4, the refinery dilemma. Why the U.S. still needs imported oil. A little-known fact about America's oil industry: not all crude oil is the same. The U.S. primarily produces light, sweet crude, while many refineries are built to process heavier, sour crude, most of which comes from OPEC countries. This creates a major logistical challenge. Even as U.S. oil output increases, refineries still rely on imported crude to function efficiently. Retrofitting these refineries to handle more domestic oil isn't a simple task. It requires billions of dollars in upgrades and years of infrastructure investment. Until those changes happen, OPEC retains a significant strategic advantage. Their control over heavy crude supplies means that even with booming shale production, the U.S. can't completely cut ties with foreign oil. This underscores the complexity of achieving true energy independence. It's not just about drilling more, but also about refining capabilities and supply chain logistics. Power move number 3, OPEC's strategic game plan, the long view on oil control. OPEC isn't playing checkers, it's playing chess. Unlike the US, which often reacts to immediate market fluctuations, OPEC takes a long-term approach to energy dominance. By maintaining spare capacity and adjusting production levels at key moments, the cartel ensures it can dictate oil prices for years to come. This strategy allows OPEC member nations to control market stability, offering them economic predictability while keeping global competitors guessing. Meanwhile, the US has largely focused on short-term production spikes, capitalizing on immediate price hikes. While this approach yields quick economic wins, it lacks the resilience of OPEC's methodical planning. If the US wants to compete on a global scale, it needs to rethink its energy strategy. Moving beyond reactionary policies and adopting a more calculated long-term vision will be crucial for maintaining leverage in an increasingly OPEC-controlled market. Power move number 2, how nations are responding to OPEC's moves. OPEC's strategic moves have forced nations worldwide to rethink their energy policies. Major oil importers like India and China are accelerating investments in renewables and securing long-term contracts with non-OPEC producers to reduce dependence on fluctuating oil markets. India is diversifying its energy mix by expanding renewable projects, while China is strengthening its energy security through overseas oil investments. Both aim to counteract OPEC's production cuts and price volatility. Meanwhile, Russia faces mounting challenges. U.S. sanctions have restricted its oil exports, while drone strikes on refineries have slashed 10% of its refining capacity. With dwindling export options and reduced refinery operations, Russia's production may drop below 9 million barrels per day soon. These global shifts highlight the interconnected nature of the energy market. While some nations seek independence from OPEC, others struggle with geopolitical and infrastructure constraints, further shaping the future of global energy. Power move number 1, the U.S. response, a high-stakes energy gamble. OPEC's aggressive strategies have left the U.S. facing a complex energy challenge. While America's shale oil boom has boosted domestic production, it hasn't shielded the country from global market fluctuations. President Donald Trump has pushed to curb Russian oil revenue by urging OPEC+, especially Saudi Arabia, to lower prices. However, OPEC has resisted, keeping production cuts in place. Meanwhile, Trump has called for increased U.S. drilling to fight inflation, but oil companies remain cautious, prioritizing profits over expansion. With U.S. production projected to reach 13.59 million barrels per day in 2025, the country is still vulnerable to OPEC's supply tactics. Balancing domestic output, diplomatic ties, and alternative energy investments will be critical for securing energy stability. The question remains, can the U.S. break free from OPEC's grip, or will it remain tethered to the cartel's strategic maneuvers? The road ahead. What's next for global energy? OPEC's latest moves have reinforced its dominance, forcing the U.S. and other nations to reassess their strategies. With deliberate production cuts, stronger alliances, and calculated long-term planning, the cartel has solidified its position at the top of the oil hierarchy. For the U.S., the path forward is anything but simple. Boosting domestic production is only part of the solution. Investing in refinery upgrades, diversifying energy sources, and strengthening diplomatic relationships with key oil-producing nations will all be necessary to counteract OPEC's grip. So, what do you think? Can the U.S. break free from OPEC's influence, or will we remain entangled in their global energy web? Please share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. We love to hear from you. For the latest updates on the automotive world and more in-depth analysis, subscribe to Piston Pundit and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching and see you next time.